any comments from the membership? Okay. Although it was moved and seconded, all those in favor, raise your hand. Okay. So if you do pay by credit card, you will see that at the end of October, after the end of October, October 20th.
And to be clear, our intent is to eventually move this to all swipes on the fort, to include the pro shop, Dickman Hall, and opens back up. Anywhere that people use a credit card, eventually they will eat that convenience fee as the user.
Okay, this came up at the last meeting, however, it was mixed with the assessments, so I put it back on the agenda today. It is whether or not to create an ad hoc, which is a short-term, financial advisory committee. We've done this in the past. It wasn't very successful. That doesn't mean it won't be now. So I'm going to, we had some discussion last month on this. I will start with Justin.
But my opinion hasn't changed. I have no interest in pursuing this.
Bill.
Ditto. I think we ought to leave it up to Mr. Peterson to figure it out, and if he thinks that he needs one, then he could request one.
Yeah.
Now, after seeing his big budget, I think we should give him a chance to handle the finances without bringing in a bunch of members. Let's let him do his job.
Alan?
I'm with that.
Okay. Membership, 3 for 3. Any comments? Okay, you have them. Joe?
Just want to say that I would agree that we should have a finance committee if Mr. Peterson wants one. Number two, it should be business people and not just the average, I shouldn't say it, housewife.
Oh.
Let me say it again.
You can exit.
I didn't mean no women.
I look around the room.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna put some boots on.
Facebook just went crazy. The men also. I mean, it needs to be business people that understand finances.
Right.
Thank you.
Let me say it that way.
Anybody else? Okay, can I have a motion, please? Do we have a motion not to?
I make a motion we do not have an ad hoc financial advisory committee at this time.
Second.
Seconded.
All in favor? Okay. That didn't take long. Okay, the other day we met with, next is the employee health insurance policy for 2020, 2021. That's effective on November 1st. We met with our health insurance broker, and he gave us some options. It's Person Solutions, by the way. However, these options, we first have to put it to the employees to determine what programs, if any, that they're interested in before we can actually come up with the cost analysis for the actual health insurance benefit provided to our employees. He provided us with several companies. We're currently with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and the other one was Allied and National General and Allsave. And we were able to compare the benefits for all of those. And Julie will be interviewing our employees to see what type of benefits they require. And we will address the amount of the policy, the cost to the association and the employees, because they pay a portion of health insurance, at the October meeting. Now, we just had this meeting after the agenda went out, or it would have been just a discussion item. But the only vote that we would need to take today is to move this forward with Person to the October meeting, allowing our HR people to interview our employees, find out what benefits they want, and that way they can do the underwriting on the health insurance policy and come up with what our employees will pay and what the association will pay. So, comments, Justin? I think you missed that meeting, didn't
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
No, it's
But we
seems
got it.
pretty
So
straightforward.
basically, we're just tabling it to
Yes.
October till we
Yes,
get,
till we get the
the figures.
you? So, Bill, any comment?
No, I agree, we'll just table it until we get all the facts.
Okay, you want to make that a motion, just to make it formal?
I make a motion that we table the health insurance policies for 2020 to 21 until we get all the facts in after Julie interviews our employees.
May I amend that to say at the October regular board meeting, and I will second it.
Is that acceptable to you?
Acceptable.
Okay, any comments from the membership? Okay, all in favor to table this until the October meeting? And it passes. Okay, the next item is the budget for fiscal year October 1st, 2020 to September 30th, 2021. And Alan, you're up.
Okay. The budget I prepared and what I've given you basically looks at your 2018 and 29 actuals, as well as what your 2020 budget was, and the proposed budget in 2021. I've itemized your assessments, which will now increase a little bit, your motel, the RV, and the golf areas separately. Your revenue actuals of 2018 was $2,233,669. Revenue in 2019 was $2,437,090. Budgeted this year was $2,517,732. And budget for next year, what I propose is $2,522,000, which is approximately the same. As far as going into your expenses, your major expense will always be your payroll. Payroll total cost and benefits is $1,133,000, and that would have been in 2018. 2019 was slightly less, $1,058,750. Proposed budget this year was $1,102,209. And my budgeted, and when I did this budget, I basically did a department by department staffing guideline for the hours that we want to have them working, as well as some 3% pay increase. And it came out to $1,169,600, which is slightly above last year. Still pretty much the same as what it was 3 years ago. Your expenses, electricity will probably be pretty much flat or a little bit lower as far as what it has been budgeted, because the actuals, we're just not using as much electricity, and we also have a few deals that we've cut that lowered our cost. Insurance will be one of your major increases over what's been budgeted in the past and actual. So your total expenses 2018 was roughly $2,683,716, or basically a loss of $450,000. 2019 was $2,659,810 for a loss of $222,000. Budgeted this year was to be zero, but as you look at your P&L, that's not going to happen. And what I budgeted this year, the expenses would be $1,387,000, which is slightly less than what's budgeted last year. As far as your overall expenses, and then be a zero budget, or $35,000 net loss going into what I budgeted this year, but excluding your tax, your assessment rates. It's a very tight budget. I looked at history for the last 5 years as far as our revenue, and in some areas, because of COVID, I think we're lower than where we were. I think there's some areas we have some possibilities to expand on our revenue. At the same time, if we watch our expenses, I think there's some areas that we can cut our expenses. So, it's what we will be doing is giving every department their own monthly budget and telling them to this is where you have to hold it, this is what's expected of you. We'll be going over variance reports with each department each month, just to analyze where we've spent our money and where we either went over or where we saved, and looking at exactly what we can do to increase the product. You know, there are two areas that we're not addressing, and that's the food and beverage operation that in the past has always cost you money. I think it's important that we work out a plan to get your restaurant back open, but I don't really see it happening in the next 6 months. I do see the possibilities of expanding what's offered down at Creekside, and that's where we'll go, and that will not cost us. It should not lose us money, in other words. Thank you.
Dustin, comments?
Yes, I like this budget a lot. Can see year over year where you're looking at mitigating expenses and then budgeting for increased expenditures, but in the areas that they're absolutely vital. I like that a lot. I would also, this budget projects 35K loss. This budget did not take into consideration the assessment increase we just made, nor did it consider the $197,000 loan that we got from the government for our payroll. I like that. You know, we operate with a cash reserve in the bank, you know, to mitigate some of these losses and, you know, emergency expenditures and things like that. So, you know, that $197,000 will go a long way if we can make up the majority of this $35,000 loss with the assessment. So I like this budget a lot.
And the credit card fees.
Yes, and the credit card fees.
Bill?
I'm agreeing with Dustin. You know, this is something to work with, something that looks more positive than we've seen in the past. And, we need to, it's the future, so we have to give it a shot.
Brianna?
We'll see in 6 months. No, it looks,
We do plan to monitor, because this is the first budget that Mr. Peterson's done, and it's the first budget that makes sense in a long time. And we're going to be monitoring it, and we're going to review the budget at least at the end of every quarter so we can see how we're moving forward. So,
Yes.
yes.
And a budget is much like our agenda here. It's a proposal. As you know, the year goes along, if Mr. Peterson identifies areas where he may have over budgeted and needs to shift some funds to areas where we may need a little more, you know, he can always come to the board, give us the evidence, and we can change this however he deems necessary, you know, if we find it agreeable. So this is a fantastic base, the best budget I've seen here.
Budgets are not cast in stone. They're meant to be reviewed and adjusted to the times, just like we do our home budgets. We ever have one. Anyway, any comments from the membership? Okay, may we have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the budget for the fiscal year 10/1/20 to 9/30/2021.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor? Raise your hand. The budget has been approved and passed. Okay. All right, let's take a couple-minute break. We'll adjourn at 10:43. I'll be back in about 5 to 7 minutes.
I'll give you about 15K over what we talked about yesterday. And we figured it would. We figured it would come in somewhere north of 105.
I try to answer them when I get them.
I still rather talk to real people versus.
Well, I'm okay with that too.
Right.
What?
Budget. This is
all of us are
Say
going
the
to
same.
this, but this is where it's like, okay, I don't even know what to do with the attorneys.
I haven't been paying a couple of bills now.
Okay, Helena, I'm on this Saturday, so what is the deal now with the cat cans?
Say it again.
Huh?
What did you say?
So we
I'm
really
on
need to
Saturday
have
for
this-
recycling.
we're just gonna-
What is the deal with the cats food?
Oh, yeah, put them in with the beer cans.
Okay.
Yeah, they're mostly aluminum. I just learned that.
Well, I knew that, but I thought because of plastic.
Yeah, but we're throwing in there. Yeah, and I'm not making a big deal of it, I mean, but because some people just come along and dump it in.
It's just usually Sharon, really.
She does them, and all they're doing is.
Eyelash Sharon.
There's no.
Yeah,
Eyelash Sharon.
right.
That's what, that's.
No, I mean, so I wouldn't go into the steel and dig them out. I just put them in there as you get people. So.
Okay, and then the same thing with the coated juice cans and like the broth cat, the coated ones?
The waxy,
Right, I'm still
mixed
keeping,
paper, mixed
we don't have
paper.
to deal with that table.
Yeah, and I just ask that you flatten, step on them and flatten
I do.
them so they're open.
I do.
You know, just to keep air in there so the milk doesn't stink.
Okay,
So, yeah.
all right, I think I got it now, thanks.
Thank you.
And they
So basically, I have to roll everything in, and as long as I pull people right out. And I'm taking going after. Stuff like
We'll see.
They tried it with something many years ago, 55.
Right, there we go.
We still have some.
Depends whether it was.
But maybe we change
No
that.
blind. No blind. No blind.
Absolutely. It's just, it's not trying to dissuade people from doing it, we're just letting them know. We're not, now, if you want that convenience, you're gonna pay for it instead of everybody who writes a check to me.
Once and we see, once we and we make them famous.
So much.
Yes, yep, I'm with you. Like it.
I know, I like.
No, I wasn't counting nothing.
Then she sent me a second one saying, blah, blah, blah.
But Elsa doesn't count her.
She hasn't. Yeah, well, the last, I mean, when did I
Money to buy more contracts. That's green, you know, or money for something in the state.
You know where we got the first one, right?
Oh, Letty.
Council had money, donations, $65.
You know how much it was? Oh, I don't think so.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, I looked online, they're at about $5,000. And we don't need to have.
We actually get like, verify this tabling it.
No, that's fine.
Email.
Yeah, because
The only issue with having it.
Oh, Helen and Cash, okay.
Everybody.
Yes, I will.
No, I don't think.
Happy, so, you know, like me saying, man, I don't know, I'll set up on that. Just, you know, most of us are ladies, and we don't want to get involved.
Yeah, once you die,
Yeah, like we had Cash went to
We love you, Kathy.
I heard that. You like older women, don't you?
10:49. We're back in action. Okay, we just approved the budget. The next is approve election committee members. We had a deadline of last Monday. We received one name. An election committee is absolutely essential because it is required in the bylaws. And as chairman of the last election cycle, I know that it takes more than one person to do this. There's work involved, setting of dates, working on ballots, getting the stuffing and mailing set up. It takes some work. However, in the meantime, we've had 6 other people indicate that they are interested in being on the election committee. Some of them did not read the dispatch. So I want to thank the person that did put his name in the mix. I'm not going to announce any names right now. What we're going to do, actually put it up to the rest of the directors, is not so much table as pause the ad hoc and to give us an opportunity to confirm whether these people are actually interested in being on the committee by phone call. And then once we have done that, we will do an email vote on it and we'll publish it in the dispatch. So this is unusual. Usually we have people clamoring to be on the committee. I'm not sure this year why.
We don't make it look fun?
To be honest with you, I had a great time. It was actually a fun thing to do. But that is my suggestion. Dustin, you have a comment?
No, it's reasonable. I don't, we need it. Bylaws say we need it. It also says it consists of 5 people, so one volunteer is not going to get us there. So yeah, we need to work on it.
Well, we do appreciate that volunteer, however.
Yes.
Brianna? Bill?
I'm with you, I just pause it until, make a motion to, well, what you said should be the motion.
Okay, well, all right, I'll do, I don't normally use president, let's pause this, move to pause this action until we interview the 6 people who have indicated interest, and once done, then select the committee.
Seconded.
Second. Any comments from the audience? All those in favor? Okay, it's not tabled to the next meeting, it is paused for an email vote. Thank you. Okay, the next one is the money market account. We were informed that it's dormant because we haven't made any deposits, withdrawals, or any of those things. I'm not quite sure where it got to $8,593.61 in the money market account. Because when I left the board in 2018, I think Bill confirmed it, we had less than $3,000 in there.
Something like that.
Yeah, so, and it's not making any money on it. So we have to make a decision whether to leave it in there and reactivate it, or to move it to another account, and it really should be moved to another Texas Community Bank account. Again, it's $8,593.61. We've had previous discussions about cashing out the MMA, and this may be the time to do so if we can agree on a place to put it. We can have it just reactivated and leave it as it is the other option. So, Dustin, your comments?
I don't believe we should move it. It's an investment account. Evidently at some point there was some minimal contribution to this account whereby it draws, makes money, draws interest and makes money forward. It's an investment. That interest is essentially free money to the fort. However little we need to contribute to it to reactivate it, I would be in favor of that. Investments are a great thing, and one that makes us money. We're invested heavily in a whole bunch of real estate around here that's forever depreciating and costing us money to maintain and all that. So having some little, as little as it may be, money-making venture, with regular contributions, eventually that thing will have a pile of money in it, and we'll be able to do some good with it if we can identify some minimal contribution to keep making into it.
Bill?
I agree with Dustin in, what he's thinking, but I have one other question, and that is there a time limit where it has to sit there for 10 years before you can withdraw it, or is it money that you can just withdraw at any time?
Typically in money market, you get 3 withdrawals a month. It accrues interest, not a lot of interest, but typically you have those checks, but 3 withdrawals a month.
Right, so you're not locked into a
Correct, it's
time frame.
not a CD.
Okay, then I'm with Dustin. I think we ought to just put a minimal amount in it to keep it activated. And then down the road, see if we need it for taxes, to sell, whatever, and go that route.
Brianna?
My personal opinion, I think maybe with the advice of Jerry, is maybe, it is a money market account, but maybe call it like a replacement account. And with Mr. Peterson's opinion, and maybe go ahead, since it's dormant, which just means that there hasn't been any activity, maybe do an automatic, like say $100 a month. But when little things like a computer goes down, or tires for the security, things that weren't necessarily specified in a budget, it would just be kind of nice to have a replacement fund. Because if we decide to get rid of it and just stick it in general, we all know what happens when it gets into general, it just disappears. So
Wrong bank.
I would recommend, but with the advice of Jerry, our auditor, to make sure that this is something we can do.
Okay, I think that's very reasonable. Again, it's dormant. Cindy has actually talked to Norma at Community Bank, and she's just waiting for us to make a decision as to what we want to do with that. Right now, it's not making any interest because interest rates are so darn low that nobody's making any money on interest. So if you want to ask our auditor how this will affect our tax basis or something, because he is an independent auditor, so he cannot comment on just business, day-to-day business for us. But
I just don't want to make sure that we're not doing anything out of compliance. I mean, we can ask Randy, but when it comes down to him doing our audit, I just want to make sure that we're.
well, the MMA has been in there for a long time. There's no objection from.
But if we take 100 from, say, the credit card account, or you know what I mean, like from another account, if that is.
It's our money.
Right, yeah, well, I'm not opposed to conferring with them. The GM's opinion does matter to me, and I would like to hear from
He's
him
next.
before we start deciding on this.
Yeah, he's next. You're up, Alan.
I guess I'm more uncomfortable about that stuff disappearing out of the general fund more than anything, because I think that's our job, that's my job, to make sure that doesn't happen. I really haven't talked to Jerry or Randy regarding, I think it's up to your own personal wishes. I don't think there's any positive or negative one way or the other. Usually when you have money like that, it's put in a CD, but that's pretty much not worth it right now anyway.
And you can't get.
And you don't want to lock yourself down at the rates that are there now. So, it's really whatever you feel like doing. I don't think it makes one difference.
Yeah, the other option would possibly move, we already have an existing account. We don't want to set up too many accounts. That does pose a problem for our annual audit. And our auditor in the past has encouraged us to have a minimum number of special accounts, because it can be a real nightmare. The only other option that would come to mind is to move it into the tax account that was set up to help allay taxes. But I have no objection either to reactivating it by a deposit and keeping it going and using it as an emergency fund. We don't have to name it, it's already named, it's called a money market account.
In order to activate it, is there a certain amount that you have to put in
No,
it?
like $5. It's
Yeah,
gotta- it's
no.
gonna have to-
No, that's my point, that, you can put just a minimum $5 in it. Now, how long is it activated for? A year, 2 years,
Well,
5 years?
Until you close the account.
So, it's just to keep it going.
I-
We don't have to take money out of our budget, so to speak, to keep that thing going. So I think we just put a minimum amount on it, keep it going, and then later on down the road, let's say in 6 months, when we review the budget, we can see if we have to use some of this money then.
Right.
I would like to start the new fiscal, if we can do $100 a month, that's $1,200 a year, adding it to the 8,000. If everyone agrees and Mr. Peterson agrees, I mean, I think $100 isn't gonna bust our
Right,
budget.
I agree, and my point on it is, if, it's an investment account, so while it doesn't make a pile of money, it makes significantly more money than your savings account at the bank and trust, it's, for as small as it is, it doesn't make money. So, without regular contributions, we might as well just pull it and stick it in the general fund if we're just gonna let it sit there and do nothing.
And wrong bank. It's at Texas Community General's over at Bank and Trust. You have to pull it out as cash
Right, but
redeposit.
either way.
Well, I mean, or, that's what we can ask Jerry, because if we did the credit card, it's called a credit card account, or whatever, but that is over there. So if we can, instead of having to do a runner or some kind of transfer fee, if we can kind of each month go.
Right.
It's
It'd be nice to have an account that makes some small amount of money that we contribute to regularly, and if there's some crazy thing that for some reason got overlooked in budgeting and we have to buy,
Or in
$8,000
like
worth
the
of
golf
tires
pump.
for the backhoe or
Right.
dump trucks, then, we have a place we can go do it without eating into the general fund.
Alan, do you feel our budget's able to handle a monthly deposit of $100?
Yes.
All right. Anything from the audience? Okay, can we have a motion?
Well, it seems to me that when Bill starts telling us money reports, you got 1 million accounts going here. I don't know how you could keep track of all those different things. Seems to me that you should dump that into something, you're talking about making interest, the little bit that we could make. Well, if you dumped it into a bigger fund, you'd be making more interest. So it doesn't make sense to sit on $8,000 without, I mean, if you had an account here that has 50,000 or whatever, you're still making a little bit more money interest-wise. So I don't see.
Our accounts are not interest bearing.
None of them.
No, the money market is.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
she's talking about the other accounts.
Yeah,
They're not
I
interested.
don't know. It just seems like we got too many accounts here.
Anybody else? Okay. Can we have a motion as to which way you'd like to have it?
I move that we maintain and reactivate the money market account, and starting in the new FY, contribute $100 monthly towards that account.
I second it.
Okay, it's been motioned first and seconded. All in favor, raise your hand, please. We shall do so. We'll need to contact the bank, let them know. Okay. All right, announcements. Other than the next meeting, I have no announcement. Does anyone here at the table have an announcement? Okay, anybody out here with an announcement?
Oh, I would like to read into the record. Where's that one report?
Oh, okay.
Thought I-
In front of.
I don't have it. Is that it right here?
No, this is trash. What in the world went on? Either way. Yeah, to date, right now,
Took a picture.
yeah,
That's it.
there it is. So our trapping program is set to sunset at the end of this month, and in anticipation of the hunting season getting fired up. I would like to personally thank JJ Ducharme for the work he did to help us out with that. So, to date, thus far, in the trapping program has generated for Fort Clark Springs $26,075 for the trapping and removal of 29 axis deer. Add that to the actual hunt from this past season, which was $90,024.99. We end up at about $116,000 roughly, right around there. So it's not a bad year for the wildlife income generation for Fort Clark Springs. And we got a couple of weeks left to go on the trapping.
Okay, any other announcements? Okay, we're going to adjourn to executive session. We have employee and member issues. Time is 11:05, and we are adjourned. Well, that's because Alan's here.
General manager do all the heavy lifting for us. Yeah.
Oh, see you, Joe.
Yeah. I remember those.
For a few more minutes.
I bought a lot of those things over the years.
You drink a lot of beer.
As long as we don't use them against cash.
Yeah.